welcome to Thoughts from the Movies. Hi, Justin.
Hello, Josh.
How are we this evening? Are we great? Are we happy?
Nobody died this week that we have to mention, so
Right,
that's
so
really
that's-
good.
that's
I feel
a
like that's a win
positive.
for everyone.
Um,
Man.
It's really, this show always throws me off because I feel like it's the show that I'm setting up everything last for. Just because of the way the timing of the show works out, like when it is in the week and, as far as like everything that I have to do in my normal life. And then it's the most intimate show because it's just me and you. And this table's super small that we sit across from each other at. And it's always a really interesting show for me as I absolutely shake the fucking table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I love the small table.
Yeah.
I'm so close to you.
So
So close.
this week, you might have noticed in the thumbnail, there was nobody in the movie poster this week. That's because we're talking about TV versus film actors. Okay, and so what does that mean? Well, let me read you guys a little excerpt that I found online. The difference between movie and TV actors: in most cases, film acting is much more detailed and nuanced than television. They want less and less is more in film. It may be due to the fact that an actor and the character they're portraying has more time to gradually show their emotional journey in a movie as opposed to a 30-minute or hour-long television show.
Interesting.
That has been a stigma forever in Hollywood, is that hey man, you're either TV or you're film. You can't be both. And it's an interesting notion, especially in today's environment where a lot of some of the best characters and best scripts are on TV. Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, trying to list some other ones. Big Little Lies,
yeah. Sharp
Little
Objects.
Fires Everywhere,
Little
Sharp
Fires
Objects, The Walking Dead to an extent. I mean,
Sure.
like, there have been a number of shows that have come out recently that have kind of like changed that stigma pretty significantly, that I think there is something to be said about making a career as a film actor or a television actor first, then transitioning to film. But I do believe we'll find out tonight that the stigma still pretty much exists from start to finish.
Maybe not in the ways that you would think, though. I mean, it's
Right.
certainly different than it used to be in very interesting ways, which we're going to get into here tonight.
Yeah. So we're going to look at the success stories. We're going to look at the busts. We're going to have a couple of people to debate about. We're going to look at some of the shows that had talented casts that went on to just dominate the industry. And then we're going to look at the Disney Channel effect because I think it's a really interesting thing. And then we're going to also talk about one actor in particular who has gone the opposite way, started his film and went to TV, and is one of my favorite actors of all time. So I'm really actually excited to talk about them. Notice I did not use a pronoun, so it keeps you guessing.
That was very sneaky, Josh.
Yeah. So that was very sneaky. Oh, very sneaky, sir.
I think you're underestimating the sneakiness. Mr. Deeds is such an underrated movie. Anyway, that's off topic. You're getting me
Yes.
started. I'll go on.
And we're
Mr. Deeds.
also keep in mind we are not necessarily right or wrong about any of them. This is just kind of how we feel about some of these actors, and we actually disagree and agree on certain ones. Also, we left out the cast of SNL, mainly because I ran out of time to produce the show. The cast of SNL deserves its own episode in a lot of ways because the iconic films that have been made off the backs of SNL cast members is one of the most it's like one of the most storied things in Hollywood.
Sure.
It's a weird thing to say, but it really is.
Yeah. Well,
Whether-
because, I mean, there's been so many people over the years, right? And they all usually, in some way, try to make the jump to
Sure.
movies. And some of them have made incredible careers out of them. And some just make, like,
Good burger.
cult Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like movies that are like terrible but awesome because they're
Right.
terrible, and then there are people who just completely failed. So like
Right.
SNL is just so
Right.
broad
Yeah,
in its spectrum that you could just
absolutely.
do a whole series on those actors.
But so let's get to some success stories, okay?
Yeah, the good. Let's do the good.
The man, the myth, the legend, Steve Carell. In
Speaking of SNL,
right
but only
in
for a brief period though.
in '99 started on the Daily Show as a correspondent. If you have not gone back and watched Steve Carell as a correspondent on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, do yourself a favor, get in that YouTube rabbit hole. There's an awesome where he's like the animal expert on the Daily Show, and he like brings out a puppy and then a goldfish, and then he brings out a puppy with a bow on it because that's a different animal. Like, I mean, it's really quite good.
I'll be honest, I have not seen those. I am not familiar with his Daily Show work.
Yeah, he's really good.
But now I want to go watch it there. Now you said that. Animal
Also
expert.
underrated. The Dana Carvey show. He's on the Dana Carvey show too as a
Oh
recurring
boy,
character.
really pulling one out of the hat there.
Yeah.
The Dana Carvey show. Wow.
So 99's the Daily Show, and then I mean it just blows up from there, right? Anchorman in '04, all the time he's doing The Office, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Little Miss Sunshine, Evan Almighty, Dan in Real Life, Get Smart, which was a flop but still a big movie. Despicable Me, that's right, he's Gru. If you never put two and two together, I am Gru. You are a little girl.
Yeah, that was pretty good actually.
One of my favorite movies of all time, underrated movie, Dinner for Schmucks. Crazy Stupid Love, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, another underrated awesome movie. The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which we talked about.
Oh boy, let's talk more about that one. Yeah, we didn't talk enough about it last week.
I had to leave it in there. Anchorman 2, Foxcatcher, where he won an Oscar.
Nominated for an Oscar.
Nominated for an Oscar, and then his new kind of run of going back to television. The Morning Show, which is an Apple original, Space Force, which is a Netflix original, and then Irresistible, NBC? Not sure. So Steve Carell, successful?
I think it's fair to say,
Yeah.
and so we should clarify. So we're debating this week or discussing TV actors who became movie stars,
Sure.
right? Not
Yeah.
just TV actors who went on to make movies, 'cause
Right.
everyone's tried to make movies, but
Yeah.
these are people who successfully launched a film career
Yes.
after getting their start in television. So it's
Right.
important that we understand the distinction. So these are people who had movie star, A-list, successful careers, and I think Steve Carell, in terms of comedy, he absolutely has done big commercial hits, critically acclaimed movies. Some of the dramatic stuff he's tried to do has been more on the indie side, like Dan in Real Life and Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, which are
Little
very
Miss
great.
Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine, very great, smaller movies that some were nominated for certain things at the Academy. Obviously, Foxcatcher, he was nominated for, which filmed in the Pittsburgh area, actually. But and the Morning Show is more dramatic, and Space Force, of course, is reuniting with the creator of The Office for that Netflix
Greg
comedy.
Daniels.
But certainly, if you look at the career that he's had, Steve Carell is absolutely, after, of course, being known as Michael Scott on The Office and getting his start there for a few years, absolutely, I don't know if there are too many people that really embody the type of success you can have better than Steve Carell did.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of jumping from the TV world to the film world.
The one thing I would say, the guy who we picked as the most successful to make the jump, and that's arguable, is a huge leading man blockbuster guy. Steve Carell, I'd never see as a leading man. I always see him as the best piece of an ensemble cast. And I loved Little Miss Sunshine and Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, but I just don't see him as a leading man. But it's just a small knock, if anything.
Well, I don't think people understand that Steve Carell, when it comes to comedy, I think has shown his entire range. I mean, I found this out especially watching Space Force. After you've seen him and everything, he really kind of has the same tics and the same traits, and
Yeah.
he does a lot of the similar things in terms of his voices or his physical comedy and stuff, which is great. But, after 15 years of it, you're like, okay, I get Steve Carell's shtick. But I think people underestimate how talented of a dramatic actor he is at playing straight characters. And I mean, Foxcatcher especially, was just a very dark and twisted role. I mean, and I don't, if few people saw it, it wasn't a huge commercial success.
Right.
But that was the wrestling movie with Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo, based on a true story about he played John DuPont, who was the heir to a chemical fortune who ended up killing an Olympic wrestler. But just very, very dark, and he had all this prosthetics on and very twisted character. So he's more talented than people realize. He has better range than people realize as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the woman of everyone's dreams.
Oh, I hate Jennifer Aniston.
What?
I really do. Oh my God. I shouldn't say that. I don't hate Jennifer Aniston. I'm not on the Jennifer Aniston bandwagon. I'm not on the train there. I'm just not at all.
Well, let's go over her career real quick. She's in The Leprechaun.
She's in The Leprechaun.
I just had to leave it in there because
oh, fantastic.
The best.
Yeah.
Anytime a Mike Myers reference can be made. 94, she's Rachel on Friends. Then she's a sub character on Office Space. Then she gets her first leading lady role in Rockstar. Starring opposite Mark Wahlberg. That movie's awesome if you haven't seen it.
I just heard about that movie for the first
so
time like 2 weeks
good.
ago. I forget who somebody was telling me about that. I can't remember, but I'm like, what? It's filmed in Pittsburgh? I've never heard of this movie.
It's basically the story of Judas Priest. Right, so Rob Halpert was like, I'm done being a Judas Priest. They're like, fine, we'll find a super fan who can sing just as well as you, because Judas Priest is known for having a badass vocalist, and it's basically that story. Mark Wahlberg is the super fan that takes over as the lead singer, and Jennifer Aniston's his longtime girlfriend. It's a great movie. It was just fun, super fun. The music's good in it. I mean, it's worth a watch.
And
I love
filmed
that
partly
movie.
in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So. But yeah, I just heard about that. I'll have to check it out.
Then she stars, aside from Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty, in one of her best roles, in my opinion. Then again, in Along Came Polly, badass movie too, Ben Stiller. Then The Breakup with
Vince Vaughn.
Thank you, with Vince Vaughn.
A lot of comedies on here.
Yeah. Then The Saddest Movie Ever with Marley and Me, where she completes the trio of Stiller, Vaughn, and Owen Wilson.
Gets them all in there.
Yeah, and then He's Just Not That Into You, which is kind of an ensemble movie, which is also a great one. McConaughey's in that one. Just Go With It. Horrible Bosses, where she's fucking awesome.
I did like her in that one.
She's
will say.
so good
as
in
like
Horrible
the
Bosses.
psycho, super sexual
Right.
one that's tormenting Charlie Day's character. Yeah.
Then the movie we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like my erection selection? That clip that got us flagged on Facebook. We Are the Millers, which was kind of like the rebirth of her in a later stages of her life as the hot MILF character. And now she's one of the 3 stars on The Morning Show with Steve Carell.
Right.
As
much as I don't really care for Jennifer Aniston, she has been in a lot of movies that have been successful, and that's the qualifications that we're looking for here. I mean, a lot of these are comedies. The Morning Show is a drama, but she's certainly been in a lot of big movies, so you can't take that away from her. As much as I'm not a fan.
Just Go With It, obviously, with Sandler.
Right. Yeah, one of Sandler's many on-screen conquests. That bastard.
They're in a Netflix original called Mystery.
Oh, Murder Mystery. Yeah,
Murder Mystery.
They're doing a sequel to that. Yeah.
Adam Sandler has. We'll get it. I will be very excited to do our Adam Sandler I Love You show, because you and I both have a deep appreciation for the Sandman, and that'll be fun. But
do you think Jennifer Aniston's a good actress?
I think that she is the perfect person for a particular role, and then she can surprise you with things like Horrible Bosses.
Okay.
But she's essentially Rachel Green in Bruce Almighty. Well, no, so hang on. So Rachel Green's stuck up, kind of like bratty girl, right, in Friends, who becomes self-made fashion, mogul, essentially by the end of the film or the show. I think there's something to be said for playing a leading lady different ways. Okay, so Bruce Almighty, she's kind of like the homely girl who's boyfriend's a reporter, and she's just kind of cute and fun.
She's like a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, and then same with Along Came Polly. But then the breakup, she's kind of like a maniacal bitch and like is kind of torturing Vince Vaughn through it. And then like you look into something like closer like We Are the Millers, she's playing an ex-stripper who was hiding this from her husband, and like she's not necessarily playing a ditzier role, but it is a bit of a ditzier role in that movie. And then Horrible Bosses just being totally outside of what we've ever seen her do.
Right.
I think she has layers to that character she's cast as, and at the end of the day, I think if you're making a movie like that, there's one person that's going to be at the top of your board as to who you need to go get to fill that character, right. And it's Jennifer Aniston.
I think you know what you're getting with her for the most part in a lot of ways. Although there's a film on here that she did a couple years ago called Cake, which was like an almost Academy movie. It was one of those ones that everyone's like, oh, it's the best performance of her career. She's going to get nominated, and then it falls kind of short. But she plays a woman who's struggling with mental disorders and has a very haunted past and things like that. It's a straight drama. It's a little bit grim, and she was pretty decent in it. I mean, for an actor who doesn't have a ton of dramatic background, I mean, in this one being full on, like very heavy material, she was actually pretty solid in it. And so I will respect her a little bit, but I still don't think that we've seen a super huge amount of range from her.
Sure.
So,
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is she the most successful of the Friends cast?
In movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think you can make an argument for all of the other ones that they tried to make this jump and didn't make it. I mean, Courtney Cox came kind of close, like she did Ace Ventura, and she had a couple roles here and there.
Courtney Cox's biggest success post-Friends, though, was another TV show in Cougar Town.
Oh, right, yeah, Cougar Town.
So, like, that's...
She was in Scream. Like, Courtney Cox tried to make the jump, but she just never really stuck the landing. And I think, Matthew Perry and Schwimmer... and Joe, all those people have had very successful careers.
You're forgetting my one that would...
Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa
Kudrow's an interesting one because she has been in a ton of movies, but she'll never, ever be a lead in it.
Nope.
She's like the 8th on the call sheet of an ensemble comedy, and she's funny in that way. Like as the principal in Neighbors or whatever, but they've all, you look at Matt LeBlanc, he's had like 4 other super successful TV shows.
Yeah.
It's like, not Joey necessarily, but like Episodes has been on for a while. And there's another one that's like Hollywood related. So they've all had successful careers for the most part. I think Schwimmer does a lot of voiceover. But as far as movies go, it's
Schwimmer has done amazing things as a producer.
Okay.
Like, if you go check his IMDb, he has really done amazing things as a producer. And Matthew Perry, obviously... had the run as basically being Chandler in movies, right? Longest Yard. There's a terrible movie that my friends all love called Almost Famous. Almost Heroes.
Oh my
Almost
God.
Heroes.
I was about to jump across the table. Almost Famous is amazing.
No. Almost Heroes with Chris Farley.
Okay.
Where they are trying to beat Lewis and Clark across the country. They're explorers.
Oh God, that sounds so bad, but so awesome.
So bad.
I really want to watch it.
It's Farley's last movie.
Oh, okay.
So
I gotta watch it now.
It's I own it on on Amazon.
I thought you were gonna say on VHS.
You're welcome, Corey.
It sounds like I got the tape in the back.
No. Unfortunately, okay. I own it digitally. All right.
Who we got next?
So Jennifer Aniston, the man,
Big Will,
the best,
Big Will, the high roller, strolling through with the entourage.
First off, can we just point out that this man has been doing this damn thing for well over 3 decades now? It's fucking awesome.
I don't think I love anyone in Hollywood more than I love Will Smith. I really don't think I do.
And you've loved Will Smith since we were kids.
Until the day I die.
Yeah.
Till the day I die. You know what's interesting? I don't know if you know this, but they're doing a dramatic reboot of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yes, you told me this.
Yeah, they picked it up off of Pitch for 2 seasons, which is like unheard of. It's going to be on Peacock, I believe. But so... yeah, it's like this fan made a video of like, imagine if the Fresh Prince was made today in the socioeconomic political times that we live in, and Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, and how crazy cool that could be, right? And then Will caught it, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's actually happening. So that's going to be a really interesting show.
Well, and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was heavy. Like, we think about, like, him and Jazzy Jeff doing, like, the cool handshakes and the Carlton dancing and, like...
all the pickup lines.
Yeah, like, all that kind of stuff. But there's some heavy topics in that show,
Absolutely.
especially as he gets older too. Where we start talking more about sex and relationships and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really, really good show. It's
I
a
think
badass show.
one of the best episodes of the show is in I think the 4th season where his dad comes back into the picture, and his dad ends up leaving him again, and he just totally breaks down in Uncle Phil's arms. He's like, "How come he doesn't want me, man?" Like that's such an emotional. It's probably the most emotionally heavy moment of the whole series as he just breaks down. I mean, there are moments on that show that really. They're not afraid to shine.
I got chills thinking about it.
I don't know if it's ahead of its time, but like they really touched on a lot of things involving race and class and just all these topics that, for some reason, they just worked so well in the show, like around the comedy.
It was him.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That whole cast was fucking badass.
Sure.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So he does Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for like 7 years. In the meantime, he's doing Bad Boys, one of the best movies ever. Independence Day, Men in Black, Wild Wild West, Ali. Then he does goes through his sequel run a little bit. Men in Black 2, Bad Boys 2, Hitch, which is one of our all-time favorite movies. Pursuit of Happiness, I Am Legend, 7 Pounds, Suicide Squad, then Aladdin, and Bad Boys for Life.
It's so interesting because I don't know if there's an actor who went from TV to the top of the A-list
literally
faster than, like, Will Smith had a couple movies before Independence Day, Bad Boys obviously being one of them, but he did a movie called 6 Degrees of Separation, which was a small drama that not a lot of people saw. But he really pretty much just went straight to the top. And granted, he was someone who had already had success. I mean, as a rapper, as in his late teens and early 20s. Did you know that he won the very first Grammy? For best rap performance. For Parents Just Don't Understand. Mm-hmm. So he had a measure of success already, and then being on this very even back in the day, it was very well received and very highly rated show. So I mean, like what it is today, it's just kind of carried on.
Weird glitch
it's just amazing how fast his rise was as opposed to other people who had to do it gradually. And you also look, this guy had no dramatic training at all. Like he didn't do theater in high school. Like no, he was in music as a rapper, and then he got a TV show, and his range is fantastic. I mean, which we've seen throughout his career too, but he can do action, comedy, drama. I mean, he was on, in the 2010s, he was on kind of a cold streak there for a little while with 7 Pounds, which was a miss, and Men in Black 3, which was underperforming, and Focus. But, like he before Aladdin, he was kind of on a cold streak. But Big Will is absolutely, like Steve Carell, one of the epitomes of success at the highest level.
Yeah.
At both, in both formats.
Yeah. So we've covered the success stories.
Some of them, obviously not all of them. But
what are some other ones just off the top of your head?
That made the transition from like a lot of the older generation of movie stars all started in TV.
Right.
Like Jim Carrey was on In Living Color. You have Robin Williams, obviously, he was on Mork and Mindy. I mean, Julia Roberts, not Julia Roberts, but everyone in that generation sort of started on various TV shows. Bruce Willis, like they all were in TV first. And
we're not going to talk about him here, but Clooney.
Of course, Clooney, with ER.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there are tons of examples of that generation that did that, and it's not as common anymore, which we'll discuss a little bit later why that is. But so those are just some of the success stories that we're highlighting to show how it's done.
So let's talk about some of the busts.
Wah, wah, wah.
I think this is really a frustrating scenario because we're not going to talk about some of these actors, but actors like Jon Hamm, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul could be considered busts, despite the fact that they played really deep, amazing characters on television.
Right.
So I tried to stay away from some of those actors, if that makes any sense. Like, tried to stay away from the dramatic actors who put in performances on television that are worth a damn, right? Like, you're not going to see any Kit Harington. Well, I guess still early in his career, but
so far he's a big bust,
right?
Yeah.
But like, we're not going to talk about those kind of actors because I do think there's something to be said for a who's the redhead Olsen?
Mary-Kate, Ashley, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen, or Christina Hendricks, like some of these actors who had amazing characters on television and then maybe weren't the best success to
Mm-hmm.
TV, but then came back and followed up those as good performances again. Elizabeth Olsen in the Commune nun one.
Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
No.
Old Boy she was in. The Commune.
No.
Doubt that had nuns in it. Elizabeth Olsen with nuns.
This isn't who I'm thinking of.
Of course.
That's why this is
of course. The Commune with the nuns.
Peggy Olsen is
Olsen.
the character's name, played by Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
So, she's Peggy Olsen.
How did you get from Elizabeth Olsen
because her name's Peggy
Elizabeth
Olsen.
Moss.
Her name's Peggy Olsen in Mad Men.
Okay.
Asshole.
Peggy Olsen, Elizabeth Moss. There's some kind of 6 degrees there.
Listen, I'm still not sure Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon aren't the same fucking
One
person.
of them. Yeah,
so let's kind of dive into some of the busts here.
Yeah.
First one, your boy.
My boy, and I want to get this one out of the way because I do really like Charlie Hunnam as an actor. Sons of Anarchy is my favorite dramatic show of all time, to go along with The Office as a favorite comedy. Sons is the best. And I think Charlie Hunnam is an actor who gets I think he kind of has a little bit of the Gerard Butler syndrome where he is more talented than people think, but his movies are misses, and that creates the illusion that they are not a movie star. And I think Charlie Hunnam's a little more one-dimensional than Gerard Butler. I see a lot of the same tough characters underpinning all of the roles that he plays. But if you look, he did some indies first. Green Street Hooligans, obviously a cult classic, which is fantastic, and that got him Sons, where he played Jax Teller for 7 years. It was extremely highly rated show for FX, their highest rated of all time, actually, at the time. And then he does Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, which quite frankly was fucking awesome. And I remember working at the movie theater in Century City that time, and it was funny because when you explain that movie to people, it sounds like not interested at all.
Robots fight monsters. Have you seen this?
There's these giant robots that fighting monsters, and then people are immediately like, "No, I'm not interested in that." But it's badass. The
really
action
good.
scenes are insane. The visuals are great. It's got a rockin' soundtrack. Guillermo del Toro kills it. But that movie's more effects driven, not character driven, and he's fine in it. But then he gets a chance in King Arthur to start a franchise, to headline and lead a franchise, Guy Ritchie's King Arthur, and that movie completely bombs. I mean, it lost Warner Brothers like $150 million. It was a total miss. I don't think it was his fault. I don't think the writing on the movie was very good at all. Like, even Guy Ritchie's direction, he tried, but the writing was terrible and the story sucked. So after that, Charlie, I think just people gave up on trying to make him a leading man. He had a very high-profile role in The Gentleman, which is another Guy Ritchie movie, but was more of an ensemble, and he played second fiddle to McConaughey. But yeah, so Charlie was a guy he was like a John Hamm or whoever, who was a lead role on TV in a very critically acclaimed role in an awesome, highly rated, respected show.
Right.
They gave him a franchise. It didn't work, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. Katherine Heigl.
Katherine Heigl acted her way out of Hollywood. Like, it's weird because she had a run there from like 2008 to 2012 where she was like the lead in every romantic comedy that there was. 27 Dresses and not the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, it was Jennifer Aniston. But Killers with Ashton Kutcher. Like, she had a pretty strong run there.
And really, her TV background was not just one TV show. She was in Roswell and Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
Grey's Anatomy, obviously more drama based than Roswell, but Roswell, super successful, popular show. So, like,
yeah,
like what happened here?
She had plenty of chances, and she was in movies that were successful on a commercial
Knocked
level.
Up?
Knocked Up,
Anyone?
obviously. Yeah, I mean, and her reputation, certain things came out about her that she was very difficult to work with, and she created problems on set by being difficult in terms of demands or personality and things like that, which may or may not be true. It's hard to know if you're not actually on set, if those are baseless facts or what. But she had plenty of movies in like an 8-year stretch there, and then she just fell off because nobody wanted to work with her anymore. I don't think it had nothing to do with her acting. It was just more about people didn't want to deal with it.
I see we got 6 viewers. Thank you all for watching, and feel free to jump in the chat, throw some things at us that we can discuss. Then she comes back into Suits, though.
I don't
back on
watch
TV.
Suits. Does she have a big role in Suits? Or
Not really, but I mean, it's just another. She's back in TV, which
Yeah.
I think was probably a smart move in some sense.
She did another TV show, I think, not
Maybe.
Madam Secretary, Internal Affairs. Is that right? It was some political show where she was like the secretary of something, like defense or some kind of But that was also around the same time in late 2010. So she did go back into TV because she was having such a hard time, with it.
Firefly
State of
Lane,
Affairs. That's
State of
what it's
Affair.
called. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was.
I'm trying to see where was she in Suits. If she was a big character in Suits.
Suits is at the top there.
Thank you.
26 episodes.
Yeah,
So
enough.
that's definitely a recurring role for
Yeah.
2 seasons. So yeah, I mean, Katherine Heigl, she got kicked out of Hollywood and then she kind of slowly worked her way back through TV.
Right.
But she just straight up, that was a personality issue
Yeah.
with people, not a talent issue.
All right, let's talk about Blake Lively.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you put her in the busts category.
I did. So Gossip Girl, she is Gossip. Like, she's one of the stars of Gossip Girl. She
Yes.
drives that show.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's miserable in The Town. And then she's in The Green Lantern, which was not good.
You're missing a lot of movies here for her on this one, buddy. Age of Adeline, she was in. She was in another movie called. You know what? The funny thing about Blake Lively is, though, this category is people who jumped into the A-list and had big successful movie careers. Blake Lively has been in a lot of movies.
So these are the top 4 things on her IMDb.
No. I want to talk about the movies that are on her IMDb.
Okay.
She was in Age of Adeline, which was a romantic comedy that did more business than people think. It was pretty successful, actually. She headlined The Shallows, which was the shark movie where she's stuck on the island and the shark, and that actually was a big hit financially and critically too. It was like Jaws, where she was just.
I'm now remembering Austin preaching to me that I need to see that movie.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's your standard
the king of horror.
Yeah, she's trapped on a little island just offshore, and there's like a great white circling her. But it's literally her the entire movie, just her and the shark.
Castaway.
So Blake Lively has done some decent, respectable film work.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call her a movie star by any stretch, but I don't know. I think she'd be more debatable than
She's
just calling
debatable.
her a straight bust. Yeah.
Well,
why did you say she was a bust?
I hated her in The Town.
She was in like 3 scenes in The Town. She was good in that movie as the drugged out
I
prostitute
don't know.
Ben Affleck.
And like not great in The Green Lantern.
I don't even remember that
Yeah.
movie existed.
Not great.
I don't think. Yeah.
So that's kind of why I
Interesting,
put her
okay.
in that.
Yeah. Well, if you compare her, the level of her Gossip Girl-ness to
Right.
her film career, it's definitely skewed. So.
And in Gossip Girl, she's awesome.
Okay.
She's so good in Gossip Girl. So, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with more thoughts on movies. We're gonna talk about people, kind of like Blake Lively, that we think are either yes, they could be busts, or no, they made it. We'll be right back.
We're calling it the Idiot Hour. Hey, Denny Hamlin, new NASCAR fan here.
You really gotta blow. He wears the skull of his dead mother. And then when he finally copes with the death of his mother,
He becomes his
he
mother.
becomes Marowak.
Correction. Ovi is the greatest offensive talent we've ever seen.
I am E.
You dumbass.
And we're back. Idiot Hour Monday. We will be playing Dungeons and Dragons this week, Monday at 8. Is the 3rd round of Dungeons and Dragons for us. We've introduced some new bad guys, and Derek's currently being seduced by a figure we're not quite sure about. So should be good.
Aren't we all?
Yes. All right, the debatables.
Okay.
I love all 3 of these actors we're going to talk about. So I sustain from making a decision. Okay.
Okay.
First one. Jim.
John Krasinski, Boston's own. Again, why do we talk about Boston so much
I
in the
don't
show?
know.
Everyone's from Boston. John Krasinski. Okay, interesting career here. So John Krasinski started out as an intern on Conan O'Brien's show, and then somehow he went from being Conan's intern to Jim in The Office as, iconic a comedy role, or not even comedy role, but just iconic a TV role as there currently is as part of the half of Pam Beesly, Pam Beesly and Jim for The Office. And then John's acting careers in movies did not put him on the A-list. He was in some lighthearted romantic comedies, as usually like just the nice guy husband or whatever. Against License to Wed, he was opposite Mandy Moore and The Holiday and Dreamgirls. I mean, Leatherheads. None of these were hugely successful movies, or none, especially not for his profile, really.
Sure.
And then he transitioned to action star in 13 Hours. Beefed up, grew a beard, and was like, get out of my face. I'm a soldier, and I'll pop you. You know, and then, of course, he's Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. But I wouldn't put him on the A-list. I wouldn't call him a movie star at all. But it's interesting because he's sort of now an A-list director almost after A Quiet Place. He's insanely in demand, or was, you know, and now he's got A Quiet Place 2 coming out, which was supposed to come out this month and has since been delayed, but likely going to be another big hit. So he's weird in that he had a super successful TV career, didn't make it in the movies as an actor, but is kind of becoming an A-list director, which it's a very bizarre path.
Affleckian-esque.
Yeah, but Ben Affleck is still a movie star, like still an
Sure.
A-list movie star and
Sure.
and an A-list director.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's certainly in that realm.
I think here's the deal, is that The Office, when it was on TV, was the most successful show on NBC had? Yes. But The Office now is arguably the biggest show out there. Whether it's on, concurrent cable or not, it is being resyndicated on Netflix and has this brand new life to it. And I think we will see John Krasinski's career grow from here, paired with The Quiet Place's success and the rebirth of The Office. I think we will see big things from him in the future. If you don't want to call him, a success story yet, I bet if we're still doing this show in 10 years, we'll be like, John Krasinski's fucking amazing. Like, he's just great.
Yeah. As an actor, though, I mean, because people know John Krasinski. He's been on the radar for 15 years. It's not like people are like, who's John Krasinski? Not in, like, Hollywood, at least. Maybe, like, the casual fan who's heard about The Office forever and is finally watching it. But, I mean, people know him.
I just think that as he gets older and the generations that like him get more and more money, they're going to support him more and more and more, and we're going to see more success from him. And also, like, Jarheads is really good, even though he's like a supporting role in that. Leatherheads is pretty good. Dreamgirls obviously was he was a total side character in that. And Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is doing splendidly for Amazon. So give it some time.
TV show.
Yep. Give it some time for John Krasinski. Okay. My wife, and I do actually mean
sister.
My wife, Aubrey Plaza.
We love you, Anna. Aubrey Plaza, I don't think is debatable. I think she should not be in this category.
Excuse me?
She's a movie star?
Yes!
Every movie on here made no money at all. Like, she's good in them, and Aubrey Plaza is too one-dimensional. She's just too April Ludgate-y in all of her stuff.
Janet Stankel, probably one of the greatest characters ever written. So it's pretty wild. She was in Mystery Team, which I don't remember her in Mystery Team, but I remember loving that movie. Then she's obviously April Ludgate through Parks and Rec. Then she's in Funny People as a side character. She's the girl with 1,000 Jobs in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Then she kind of gets one of her first leading roles in Safety Not Guaranteed, which is an awesome little comedy. Also has Nick from New Girl in it.
The Duplass brothers, yeah. Fantastic indie.
The To-Do List, which was pretty weird. Life After Beth, another kind of weird movie. Dirty Grandpa, which was Zac Efron. That was
Robert De Niro, yeah.
pretty successful as far as, like, stirred up. I don't know how good of a movie it was. It was kind of a weird movie, but The Little Hours. Have you seen The Little Hours?
I have seen The Little Hours, yeah, based on an Italian play called The Decameron, and it's got a great ensemble cast, Dave Franco and Nick Offerman. It's a total comedy spoof of, like, the 1800s Italy. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny, but no one saw it.
Aubrey Plaza plays a horny nun alongside
Allison Brie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot.
You don't have Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates on here. She
No.
and Anna Kendrick headlined that against Adam Devine and Zac Efron.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, but she again none of these, even Ingrid Goes West and Child's Play was a flop. Like none of these movies were successful at all, and even her acting in them is okay. But I mean, movie star? No way.
I've seen more of these than I've not seen because she's in them. Does that change your opinion at all?
No, because we're not doing this Josh Love, these actors.
Well, I told you off the drop that I loved all three
Yeah.
of these actors. So
if that was the case, then sure, throw her in there. But no, these are TV actors, successful TV actors who made the jump to movie star status, and I don't think Aubrey Plaza is even close to that realm.
How about this one?
Kristen Bell we talked about via text before the show, and this was another interesting one because Veronica Mars, obviously, very popular cult show, which is, I think they did another iteration of that show and a movie. Like, I can't keep track of how many times
there was a movie,
resuscitated
there was an
that.
iteration, and then they basically rebooted the whole show as iZombie.
Okay. Yeah, that show just seems to stick around forever.
Right.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall, great movie, and she was the lead in that with Jason Segel and Russell Brand. Get Him to the Greek, she had a small role in. I mean, what other than that though? Like Bad Moms, like 10 years later, she was part of an ensemble in. In Frozen, she was the voice, and then she of course went back to The Good Place. So bookended by two very successful TV shows is a weird film career where honestly, like her biggest role is probably as the voice in Frozen. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall, right? Like she's in a bunch of stuff, but not. Man, I think she's in the right category. As debatable. I wouldn't probably put her as a movie star. I think she's just a great TV actress who has been in a good amount of movies, and some of them are good, some of them are not. But there's no like prestige around Kristen Bell. I feel like she has the same look and everything. Like she's not very different. Her characters aren't very different.
Yeah.
You know.
I think she's kind of like Jennifer Aniston in the sense that, like, when you need that role, Kristen Bell's the only one that can fill it.
Agreed.
And for a long time, I was impervious to the Kristen Bell charm. I didn't get it. I didn't think she was, like, super beautiful. I didn't think she was super funny. I did not get what she brought. And then I watched The Good Place. Holy shit, is she awesome in The Good Place. Eleanor Shellstrop in The Good Place is probably one of my favorite TV characters out there.
Wow. Okay.
Because it does show depth and range in a character. And anytime I see a character grow in a television show, I'm always on board for it. I could write you right now a thesis on why Dwight Schrute is the greatest character ever written. But
would it be titled Bears Beats and Battlestar Galactica?
It would be
It
Bears.
would have to be.
Bears, Small Beats, and the change of Dwight Schrute. But like it's Eleanor Shellstrop's through a very short run for a TV show, only 4 seasons. It's one of my favorites, and it's not a coincidence that all three of the actors we're talking about in the Debateables are from Michael Schur, Greg Daniels projects in Aubrey Plaza and John Krasinski.
Didn't even realize.
Because I think Michael Schur makes the best TV, period.
I mean, for TV comedies, I don't know if you could debate that at all. His run has been incredible.
TV comedies that have some sensitive, warm, fuzzy parts.
Yeah, great characters that you really grow to love.
Right.
Absolutely.
So Kristen Bell, maybe not the super success story, more so than Aubrey Plaza, and probably right now more so than Krasinski, we could say.
Yeah, I mean, they're just different realms. He went on to directing, and she's in, Frozen 2, and some other things. But yeah, it's interesting too. Her and Dax Shepard are married, right?
Yes.
And Dax Shepard's another guy that's kind of like on her level as far as actor. Like he's been in a ton of stuff.
Hit and run, they're in together.
None of them super successful, but some of them like decent work. Without a Paddle are funny, but like Chips was a huge bomb. So they're both like together. They kind of make an A-list couple, but they're not really either of them A-list.
Well, but
movie
now
stars.
they're interesting as a couple. They're a power couple because Dax now has his whole podcast.
Right.
That's super successful, Armchair Quarterback or something like that. And she has become America's sweetheart through her Instagram and talking very openly about their relationships and their children and all that kind of stuff. So as far as movie star, maybe no, but the two of them are definitely a power couple in Hollywood. There may not be A-Rod and J-Lo, but they definitely have some power and some sway.
Yeah, maybe unorthodox
Yes.
A-list, I
Yeah,
guess
it's probably a good one to go with.
So
All right. Very talented
I'm excited for this
casts.
category,
Okay.
actually. Yes.
All right. So, we didn't put Friends on here. Friends belongs on here. We didn't put Mad Men on here. Mad Men belongs on here. But the two shows that we did tackle, I think, are interesting for a number of reasons. And we're going to start with That 70s Show.
That 70s Show, which is still as popular, I feel, today as it was back then.
Yes.
You know what's interesting is always if you look at, like, where you're at in time, if That 70s Show aired then, like, the time difference, because I think it started airing in 98, and it was set in the 70s, right? So if That 70s Show, if the equivalent started airing today, it would be set in, like, 1999 or something crazy like that. Like, it always just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because at the time, it seemed like it was so far in the past, but then you're like, when you get older, you're like, it's not really that far. But
So,
the main cast here we have.
Yeah. On screen, I have listed the IMDb top projects for these top 4 or 3 projects
Sure.
for these guys.
And none of them need really much of an introduction.
No, but I would like to point out one thing.
Okay.
On IMDb, Grace Kutcher and Prepon all still have That 70s Show listed as one of their top 4 projects. Mila does not.
Sure.
So just kind of interesting
Right.
to put in there. So Topher Grace, the lead, Eric, what is it, smartass or dumbass? Dumbass.
Yeah. Foreman.
In Good Company, Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. Neither of those really do anything. And then he's the bad guy in Spider-Man 3.
Right. Topher Grace. So we're taking the cast in this category, and we're gonna break up who made it and who didn't, because they're very split in these shows. You know, they're not just all of them did or all of them didn't.
Right.
Topher Grace would be put in the bust category.
Right.
They tried to make him a movie star, but he was too Foreman-y. He was just always
Yeah.
that smart alecky. Like Spider-Man 3 was probably his most high-profile attempt at, you know, a villain in a franchise, and he's done movies over the years in smaller roles or, you know, trying to make comebacks in certain things. But yeah, Topher Grace would be a bust.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher.
What, you know, everyone knows Ashton, what he's been in. I mean, not only like Punked and stuff, but all the romantic comedies, and you know, he did Jobs, which was kind of a miss, but Butterfly Effect, he's done, you know, dramas as well. So he's had a very long, wide-ranging career. He's not someone that you would cast in your movie in the hopes that it would bring out an audience necessarily, but he's been in a lot of big movies and had
Not anymore, but through
yeah.
the 2000s, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, now he's more in like investing and everything.
Right.
But his career, he's certainly transitioned over well.
And also what I love about Ashton Kutcher is that he never got away from TV. He did Punked. He did 2.5 Men. He did The Ranch. I mean, he's always had his toe in both worlds.
Yeah.
And that I really appreciate about
I
Ashton
forgot he
Kutcher.
did 2.5 Men. Yeah,
Yeah.
Long-haired Ashton took over
Yep.
for Chuck Sheen. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Uh,
Laura Prepon
Yes.
would be. I don't feel like she really tried to make
Nope.
the jump.
I think, hang on, let me pull up exactly. I was stunned at how few movies she did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously her biggest hit after that 70s show was Orange is the New Black.
Which she's amazing in.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of the leads in that show, and obviously the success that they've had. But yeah, I don't like Laura Prepon's film career. There's not
29
really...
credits as an actor.
Okay.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she's done
And a
done
lot
a
of
few
TV
supporting
movies.
roles here. This is all TV series. So she kind of just remained a TV actress, which is I respect.
I have a hot take.
Uh-oh.
I think that we will see more from her moving forward.
I think that's going to be difficult.
Really?
Because, and I don't mean this disrespectfully
She's
in any
too
way, she's older. And it's just a well-known axiom that once you get over 40 in Hollywood, the roles just start drying up.
So you don't. Well, maybe she's not a strong enough actor, and this is total. This is not what I want to say as far as context goes, but like the Meryl Streep type roles,
Right.
like where it is the older kind of like.
She's not that old. Meryl's like 30 years old.
No, but like there is that like what Kathy Bates used to dominate, right? That like
Sure.
mom role or like older, like sassy person.
You know, it's just those roles aren't very popular, you know.
Right.
And I remember when Lincoln came out in 2012, Spielberg's movie, and Sally Field at the time was in her 60s, and she was just saying how hard she fought for the role of Mary Todd Lincoln, and that just because there were never any roles that she felt were good enough for, you know, to really chase or to dive into. It's just you get to a certain point, and now you're starting to see it expand a little bit, and you have like the Jennifer Garners and the Charlize's are turning to action, which is an interesting pivot in their 40s and later stages of their career, which has been successful to some degree. But yeah, I mean, once you get into middle-agedom as a female, it's just the unfortunate reality of Hollywood as is that a lot of parts, just the number of parts written for that demographic drop off drastically. So I don't think it has anything to do with Laura Prepon as an actor. I think she's a very talented actor based on what we've seen, but the opportunities and the competition, from here on out, I feel like it'd be, tougher.
I would really like to see her again in another leading role because she was awesome as Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would just like to see more from her.
So right now, Topher's a bust. Kutcher was a success.
Absolutely.
Prepon was like an NA. She didn't attempt it, really.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And then let's talk about the biggest success from the show.
Obviously.
The last person cast on the show lied about her age to get on the show.
Yep.
And fucking flipped it into a superstar career.
Fantastic. Yeah, and she really, Mila Kunis absolutely is A-list, not only for her dramatic roles and her comedy roles, but just her consistency with all of the big movies that she's done in the last, 20 years, whether it's action, whether it's ballet, whether it's comedy. I mean, yeah, Mila Kunis is, Mila Kunis. She's an A-lister for sure.
And she's Meg.
Yeah, I always forget that, because
She's
Family
Meg.
Guys has like 300 episodes.
Yeah.
I forget that she's in just about all those too.
She's
Outside
in
of all her
those.
movies, she's still doing that. So
Well, and she says, I forgot. I was watching her in an interview or something, and they're like, "What do you get most? Like, hey, girl from Black Swan. Hey, girl, blah blah blah. Hey, that's 70." She goes, "No, people just walk up to me and they go, 'Shut up, Meg.'" That's awesome.
there you go.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you don't have them on the screen, but we have to mention real quick Wilder Valderrama and Danny.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I just forgot Danny's last name. The one from the
Hyde.
Raid, Masterson. Yeah, Danny
Yeah.
Masterson. Jesus. So neither of them made it to film.
No.
I think.
Wilder
Hyde,
Valderrama made the rest of his career about being very handsome.
he's been in he's in a TV show like
He's just pretty much handsome.
not Suits or not White Collar, but
I'll
I
pull
think
it
he
up
was
here.
in another semi-respectable network TV show. And then Danny Masterson, he had some minor roles in films, and he did The Ranch and everything. But more, he's dealing with like sexual assault issues and stuff. But
Yeah.
the point is that neither of them made it to
he's-
NCIS. Yeah, he's been in 100 episodes of NCIS. But neither of them made the jump to. I don't really think either of them had the opportunities to really do it. So
Well, and they weren't. Hyde as a character wasn't real deep. He was just the big stoner loser guy, and
Fez.
Fez was just the goofy comedy relief. And
I said
really,
good day.
and actually, if we wanted to hang on,
What?
as far as like people that actually made it from that '70s show,
Yeah.
the cast, we need to talk about the fucking parents.
Oh, Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yes,
Why do we?
both
okay.
had awesome careers after this.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah,
I saw Deborah Jo Rupp in like one movie, and I laughed because she did that ha 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 ha, and I was like, oh, that's a nice callback. Who are we at right now?
Okay, hang
This
on.
is Kurtwood
This-
Smith.
yeah.
So
I'm
this
trying
is
to think.
This is Red Foreman.
Yes. Okay, maybe he didn't do anything.
He's done a lot of TV. Agent Carter.
Yeah.
Resurrection. Yeah, he's
I mean,
certainly
there's
not that I ever
something
saw
there.
him in,
He's
but
in, and then
Deborah Jo Rupp is
Yep.
Mrs. Foreman. Oh yeah, she was the mom, and she's out of my league, and
Mhm.
which was filmed in Pittsburgh.
um,
And The Ranch again. Everybody's in. Those are all in The Ranch. All that '70s show characters are in the Netflix show.
and then she's very famously Lisa Kudrow's sister-in-law in Friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's just
Okay.
it's a weird little like
Yeah.
stupid thing, but all right,
So of that '70s show cast, you have Ashton and Mila.
Yes.
Oddly enough, the couple
right,
both jumped to the A-list
Yes.
successfully. Topher did not. Laura never really tried, and Fez and Danny also
Bust.
just stayed in TV.
yeah, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an interesting breakdown for
Mhm.
that one. But then we go to
the breeding ground of stardom.
Oh my God, Judd
Freaks and
Apatow's wet
Geeks.
dream that was Freaks and Geeks. Oh my goodness, I love this show.
And so like here's the best part, is I picked the top 4. Martin Starr is in Freaks and Geeks.
Right.
Shia LaBeouf's in Freaks and Geeks. I mean, there's a number of
maybe for like one episode.
studs in Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, Freaks and Geeks is really surprising. I mean, I think it's pretty well known. Everyone knows these guys. We don't need to go into Franco and Seth and Jason. And I think Linda Cardellini is probably one that's a little overlooked. I mean, not only did she have a great role as Velma in Scooby-Doo, but she was in The Curse of La Llorona. She's in Brokeback and Avengers. And she's done a lot of movies, actually, that people don't realize. So I think that I don't know if I'd call her A-list, but certainly has had a successful movie career.
I always had a crush on Liz, though. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, she's a babe for sure.
Franco obviously just
Yep.
wow. And then Siegel, like, I don't know, man. Like, that's he became that guy. Like, if you need if Will Arnett was busy and you needed scruffy loser, he's Jason Siegel. It is. And then obviously Seth Rogen has, out of everybody we've talked about, the only person on Will Smith's level is Seth Rogen.
I think it's interesting that you say that. Maybe not on Will Smith's level necessarily, but in terms of meteoric rise to the top from a TV show,
How
Seth
is he
Rogen,
not on Will Smith's level?
because his movies make a great amount of money for how much they're made for, but he is not a worldwide phenomenon box office draw that Will Smith is. Will Smith is the top of the A-list. Like, he's representative of what movie stars are. Seth Rogen is probably one of the highest demand people in Hollywood right now. He's incredibly successful. People love his movies. They all make a lot of money. But we're not talking like, blockbuster movies. We're talking about comedies that are made for like 20 million and make 100 million, which is very respectable and are very well reviewed as well. But, he's not in the giant
This Is
hit
the End
movies.
wasn't a blockbuster?
No. This Is the End was a very successful movie. All of most of their movies, because they make them for so cheap, are very successful.
I don't understand what your definition of a blockbuster is if This Is the End is not a blockbuster.
Well, the old definition used to be $100 million domestically. And
Okay.
Jaws was like the first movie to really, put that
Perfect.
threshold out there. And so This Is the End, yes, like Seth Rogen's movies will make $100 million domestically or a little over, right? So they are big financial hits. But blockbuster, I would say, is hundreds of millions these days. Like, you're talking, not necessarily like $1 billion Avengers, but like big movies, right? And his movies are just not gigantic movies. Arguably, the only one that they tried, The Green Hornet, was their only real misfire. So,
Rada Grob, 67. Who was more talented range-wise, Will Smith or Seth Rogen?
that's a really interesting question.
It is a
because
very interesting
I think
question.
both of them are underrated in terms of the range that they
Absolutely.
have. People don't understand that Seth Rogen's done a lot of dramatic work, and he's been very strong in. He played Steve Wozniak in Jobs against Michael Fassbender.
Incredible
Fantastic.
as Woz.
He was in a movie called Take This Waltz with Michelle Williams. I mean, Seth Rogen has done more dramatic work than people realize.
Well, and even in Knocked Up or Zack and Miri, because his character has range, you love him.
Yes.
You fall in love with that character every time because he is able to show you like, oh, I'm sad now, and hey, wait, no, I'm back up, and like, I really love Seth Rogen. I also love that Seth Rogen makes movies with his friends, okay, and greenlight stuff that normal people wouldn't greenlight, right?
Sure.
Like that weird pickle movie.
Yeah, American
Not a
Pickle.
great movie, but I appreciate.
Why it was on HBO Max?
I appreciate that he made it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that he did it in Pittsburgh, and I appreciate the fact that he was like, "Fuck it, I'm Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make this pickle movie. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Who cares?"
That's
like,
because he's a brand, and people will show up for the brand. Like I said, they make them for cheap, and they have a very reliant audience that are going to make money off their movies.
he's very similar to a new Kevin Smith to me.
Oh,
in that
he's so far beyond Kevin Smith.
Well, but what Kevin Smith maybe did, Kevin Smith walked so that Seth Rogen could run.
I could see where you would connect the dots there.
Okay.
To answer Raw Dog's question, I would say that Will Smith is probably more talented because he has the action arsenal along with drama and comedy. And I think Seth
Could
Rogen
you
has
imagine
comedy and
Seth
drama.
Rogen, though, in a fucking action movie.
They tried the Green Hornet. And
No,
it
but
just,
like
didn't
that's
really-
that's a comic book movie. That's bullshit. Don't do that. Do Seth Rogen in like something where he's not in a not a superhero. You know what I mean? Like
Observe and Report, the mall cop.
or like Die Hard.
Oh
Like
my
Seth Rogen in Die Hard, he's like, oh no, we're in the fucking elevator. It's falling, man. Whoa!
I feel like there are movies that we're forgetting of his that he did those roles. Like The Interview, he wasn't really an action-y, but
he really he's kind of stuck to his kind of world and is now just in older age starting to explore some new things. Let me pull this up real quick.
yeah, I mean, let me see if there's anything. He's not The Boys. Yeah, I mean, as a Point Grey, by the way, as a producer, have had major success with The Boys and with Preacher and things like that. Yeah, you're on the right one.
Actor, The
Long
Lion
Shot,
King.
that was more dramedy, I guess.
Disaster Artist.
Yeah. I mean, there's comedies for the most part, but still, like you said, what's interesting? You said that his comedies, because of his, charm and heart and relatability and things like that, people like them for more than just the
Which is
humor.
what Will Smith made his career on originally.
Sure. Yeah, people connect with it more. And I don't know if we've talked about this on the show before, but I always like to mention this when it comes to mind. Judd Apatow, obviously, is Seth's mentor, and they have a very close relationship. And I remember watching an interview where Seth Rogen was talking about their creative process and how they write movies and what they're thinking about when they're creating their plots and their characters and things like that. I think this was an interview with Sam Jones. But he said that what they do with their movies is they write dramas. They don't write comedies. They write dramatic stories, and on the page, it's a drama in just the way that they act it out and the way it comes off the page naturally makes it funny. But they're not trying to be funny. They're not trying to do comedy or be slapstick or all these wisecracking stuff. They actually write dramatic roles, and then because of the nature of the people and how it's written, it comes across as funny, even though it's not meant to be that way necessarily. So they write comedies as dramas, and it comes off the page and becomes a comedy in the sort of delivery. Does that make sense? But I've always just found that interesting because it's like people only know them for comedies. It's like they just don't go and write a really funny movie. Like they write it hitting the beats and plot points that you would of a drama with arcs and development and things and it becomes comedy in the way that it comes off the page.
Well, and I think that's why in most Judd Apatow and literally this list of people being them, why in Judd Apatow you see him use the same people again and again is because he is looking for a very specific type of actor who has those type of chops that can deliver a funny role with some heart. And
and their stories have lessons in them, or they have good
Sure.
morals and good values. And
I think one of Apatow's best, and he's only the producer on this, but his fingers are all over it, is Love. It's the television show on Netflix with Jillian Jacobs and the kid
Paul
who
Rudd
wrote
I think
it.
That is an underrated show.
It's a badass show.
It's sort of in
it's
like
really
the
good.
the Master of None or
Right.
What's the one that I just watched? That's like sort of Davey,
Yeah.
where it's just that
Well,
kind of offbeat couple.
He's
obvious. There's no rapping in Love.
Dave
Yeah.
is the best written show in the past 10 years.
I don't know about that one. That's a very big leap to take.
It is, as far as storylines and the depth of it and the entire the episode about Gator and his bipolar disorder.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Or where you don't even see any of the main characters. You don't see Gator, you don't see Dave. You see it's I only know him as Taco, but he's the producer, and then his girlfriend that they don't know that they're dating yet, and they're their relationship forming. That episode's incredible. There's so much depth to that fucking show on top of it being humorous, and watching the way it kind of twirls in and out of the storyline is just so fucking good. Particularly, my favorite episode is the Molly episode where they go to the wedding, they break up. It's based off of the song Molly, which is a Little Dicky song.
I think, I agree, but I think that show, it takes a while to get to that level. I think it's like 7 or 8 episodes in when it actually gets to that deeper level.
But because it has to get goodwill from you to do that stuff. And at the end of the day, the fucking the bit with the very first episode where the episode where he's gonna perform for the dead kid's funeral.
Yeah.
And Macklemore shows up, but the whole thing's based around the shirt
Right.
It's not based around Macklemore.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, I like your shirt." As he runs on stage.
The whole episode's about the shirt.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so good.
I respect Dave.
Death to Privilege writes in, Seth Rogen ad-lib skills are incredible.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, that whole group of guys that we talked about have fantastic ad-lib skills, but I will say I suggest anyone who likes Seth Rogen's comedy or ad-lib. There's a YouTube video from the set of Zach and Miri Make a Porno, where it's him and Justin Long ad-libbing back and forth together. It's like 7 or 8 minutes, and it's just riffing. It's hilarious. Like it's from the take where they're at the dance at the beginning at the reunion dance, and Justin Long plays Brandon St. Randy, the gay porn star who come in from LA, and it's just the two of them, like their introductions back and forth. It's fantastic on YouTube. But it shows you their improv skills to the max. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, here's what I want to do. We're going to take one last commercial break, and then we're going to actually come back. We're going to talk about the Disney effect. We're going to talk about Shia LaBeouf and Zac Efron, and then we're going to talk about the reverse, somebody who started in Hollywood and then went to TV. They are a very talented actor and one of my favorites. I refuse to assign the gender till we get to them. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Let's dive right into sports, as I have strong opinions on that. Which college team could beat a professional team in the same sport right now?
Okay.
There is not a single answer that is better than the LSU Tigers defeating the Cincinnati Bengals.
Even if I know the pitch that's coming, every other part of me is still normal.
That's why it's frustrating for me, Greg.
It's like okay, if I know what something is coming, I know ahead of time, I still have to be able to do the action to get the result that I need.
Okay, so they won 3 games in 10 years with 3 rebuilds.
I don't lose at arguments. All
Especially
right.
about fast food, so yeah.
You will never walk alone. Guess what? Now you will. Coronavirus.
I barely touch my girlfriend's cat. The most I'd be willing to do is like just kind of put my finger on its forehead and just like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with us is Alex Kazor from Steelers Depot.
We are live with Ryan Smith, professional cornhole player in the ACL. Ryan,
what all franchises were you able to work with in the NHL?
With Phoenix, Carolina, and Detroit.
So here is Moorhead's ranking. Moorhead is my cousin. He is the rank king.
Higher
Top 10 extra Power Rangers.
Whoa.
Okay.
This is the top 10 emo songs of the 2000s.
There's only one correct answer for number 1. Why is F is for Family better than Futurama when Futurama is like Star Wars for potheads? Like
I know. I think
We have one or two that are mad in the chat.
you're welcome for that.
All right, we're going to get banned.
That last clip from the 2 Beers Deep commercial where I'm laughing so hard. We do a thing where we draft people, okay? So, like, everyone's drafting their top 5 Paul Rudd movies, okay? And in that movie, or in that one, we're fictional characters that would be great wrestlers. And Derek drafted 5 times. He drafted The Rock. He just kept drafting The Rock's characters, and I was
Fair pick.
crippled. Quite brilliant. But now we're going to talk about the Disney effect. So let me just explain what I mean by the Disney effect. The Disney Channel is a subsidiary of the Disney Company, okay?
ABC.
And they make a number of, movies that are meant for TV, that are shown on TV. They make an entire run of TV shows, and have produced an incredible amount of stars that have gone on to do bigger things, okay? Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. Zac Efron was in High School Musical. The Jonas Brothers were in Camp Rock.
Hillary Duff, yeah. Selena
Hillary
Gomez.
Duff,
The
Selena
Sprouse
Gomez,
kids, whatever the hell
Demi
their names
Lovato. Shia LaBeouf. But not all of them have hit superstar Hollywood status. A lot of them have been successful, but only the select upper echelon have done that. And I believe these 2 actors have done that. So let's talk about first our man Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, by the way, making the comeback hard now.
I'm excited
Yeah.
because let's talk about. Okay, so Even Stevens, he's Lewis, one of the most relatable characters ever. Was right in the sweet spot for me and you as far as like things he was going through, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then he does Holes, which was the most popular book that we ever fucking knew as kids that wasn't Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And he made a movie about it. We're like, fuck, all right, this is our guy. This is our Tom Hanks. This is our Will Smith. This is our guy, right?
I don't know if I said that, but you know what I will say about the movie Holes, and I think we're going to do a show about this in the future.
Fuck
in
yes.
terms of books,
I'm on.
books being turned into movies.
No, just a whole show about Holes.
Dude, just look at the cast for Holes. If you go back,
I
John
bet it's
Voight,
nuts.
Sigourney Weaver, like it's crazy. I think that Holes is one of the best literary adaptations of all time in film. You know, up there with like
Ooh.
The Shining and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I thought the book to film,
It's
I
pretty
think
much
they
a copy.
captured the spirit so
Yep.
well and all of the main plot points. I mean, they brought it to life in a way that's so rare. So that,
I
yeah.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Holes is awesome.
Right.
Then iRobot, he's like the sidekick kid
Yeah,
character.
just the side character.
Yeah, sidekick kid character again in Constantine. Then he stars in the greatest game ever played.
Golf movie.
Golf movie,
Yeah.
great movie if you've never seen it. Awesome movie. Then it's the Rear Window remake,
Mm-hmm.
Disturbia. Fucking badass.
It's not terrible.
movie.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I own it.
I do too.
It is.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but
It was one of those things where I vividly remember hearing and seeing the trailer, thinking Shia LaBeouf has a movie. I'm gonna go pay my money to see Shia LaBeouf in this movie.
Oh boy, I don't know if anyone's ever said that. Like that's amazing.
Fuck you. So Disturbia is awesome. Surf's Up, super underrated animated movie for DreamWorks about penguins that surf. Amazing fucking soundtrack. Worth a watch. Then we see the greatest Michael Bay film ever made.
Well, one of them.
No, the
The Rock is
the-
definitely
the the Transformers.
Was Sean Connery in Transformers?
No, Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox were in it.
Bah.
I raise you, Megan Fox.
Yeah. I do love the first one. It is a classic.
It's incredible, and really, the third one's kind of sucky because Spielberg fired Megan Fox for being an anti-Semite or something and crazy, and yeah. But it's really good. It's a good series. It's early in the franchising of Hollywood. Awesome, and he's a stud in it. He
He's fine.
carries the movie.
He's Shia LaBeouf in it. Like for a long time he was in the Lewis Stevens adjacent roles, and I think that's one of them. Like I'm not saying he's bad in it, but I think he's got a little bit of that, frantic Lewis Stevens-y type stuff. But Indiana Jones, certainly a departure.
Yes.
As Harrison Ford's son.
Yeah.
And sort of protege, like Greaser in the 50s. More action in that movie for sure. Lawless, which we did a show on for our series as a bootlegger, and Fury as he played a 105 of a tank commanding crew, which was outstanding. But then in the early 2010s, he had his giant. He had a giant, I don't want to say meltdown, but let's just call it a revisionist take on what he wanted his career and life to be. He got into all these art installations and was doing drugs and had altercations with the police and all this shit. Like, he really kind of went off the deep edge.
He also, though, in that time, created some of the best memes and GIFs ever.
He did indeed give us those, yes. But he sort of fell off the radar and was a little bit exiled from Hollywood as he went through his bad boy craziness recovery stage and everything. And
then he shaved his head, like
shaved
all
his
good
head,
bad boys do.
And Britney Spears, as they all do, during their meltdowns. And then this past year, he came back onto the scene with two really small indie films that were both fantastic, beautiful movies. Honey Boy, which he wrote while in therapy, is a true story about his life, like as a child actor, and his relationship with his father. And he plays his father's role in Honey Boy. So it's very unusual, yeah, but beautiful cinematography. The music is great by Alex from Jonesy and Alex. It's Alma Harrell directed it. So Honey Boy, and then Peanut Butter Falcon, where he plays a guy.
I misspelled that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll allow it tonight. He he goes on an adventure with a guy with Down syndrome, Zach
Yeah.
Gossigan, to find his favorite wrestler, the Peanut Butter Falcon. But so it's like a road trip movie about these two guys. Very heartwarming. Both of them insanely well reviewed, and sort of put Shia LaBeouf back into the mix. And now he's doing Olivia Wilde's next movie that she's directing, which is going to be fantastic. And so he successfully brought it back.
Yeah.
So when he was in TV, A-list movie star status, career, fell off, like just pulled the child actor falling off the
Yeah.
deep end shit and going through all that. And now he is back on the radar with this like quiet, more sort of like worldly perspective on shit. Like you could tell he went through a metamorphosis.
Drew Barrymore did the same thing.
Okay. Did she?
Yeah, she she was like 12 doing coke inside of a club in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, maybe earlier in her career. Yeah. So yeah, Shia LaBeouf is certainly back to high profile status.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I love him, and we talk a lot on this show about would you pay money to see this person, and as I've already stated, I would and have. So I'm excited to see his career kind of come back from the brink there.
I think he's gonna have a reconnaissance type. He's gonna be in some really cool projects now that he's back in the mix.
This guy never lost it though. He was a stud from start to current. I was gonna say finish, but
from the moment he was born until
was
present,
literally just a stud.
Yeah.
High School Musical. Then he gets he's still in his dream teen boy phase with Hairspray and 17 again. Then he does a really awesome fucking movie, Charlie St. Cloud, where it's all about his brother passes away. He feels guilt about that, so he plays catch with his dead brother in the woods every day, and it's like this growing of age tale where eventually he has to leave. It's like a summer camp or something. He has to leave the summer camp, and going through that guilt. It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
He's in Parkland,
which is about the aftermath of JFK's shooting at Parkland Hospital. He played a doctor there, I believe.
And then he goes from teenage heartthrob to, oh shit, that's a sex symbol in Neighbors.
He has the R-rated comedy heartthrob.
Oh, but
Disney heartthrob
so
to R-rated
good
comedy
at it.
heartthrob.
He's so good at it. Seth Rogen again too.
Yeah.
Then he's in Dirty Grandpa with Aubrey
De Niro.
Then he just solidifies himself as A+ stud as he and in Baywatch, he co-stars with The Rock, but he is not overshadowed by The Rock.
No.
Which is a difficult fucking thing to do.
Sure.
Not in on-screen performance, not in stardom, not in physique.
Physicality.
I mean, he goes toe-to-toe with the highest paid actor in Hollywood and my personal hero. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Then he does The Greatest Showman, where he goes back to showing off. Hey, I can sing and
roots.
dance still, right?
Back to the musical roots.
And then he's gonna play fucking Ted Bundy.
I think that's a Netflix movie, I believe.
What?
Zac Efron's really interesting because you want to hate the guy, right?
But he's a dude.
Some pretty boy who's like just in all these movies, and it's so weird because he, I think, is more talented than people realize. Even though he is just kind of that pretty boy, in the cut physique and all the ladies love it and stuff, and he does a lot of he did the heartthrob thing, and then he did the college boy, the frat boy thing in 4 different movies. And I think as he's aging and now he's going into his 30s, he's opening up his range for sure. And I don't watch his Netflix show where he travels the world and does eats different things or study. I don't know what he does on his Netflix show. I just know it's a travel show on Netflix. But you want to hate him, but the more work he does, the more I grow to respect him against my wishes. And I think Seth Rogen said on Neighbors, he's like I went into that just wanting to fucking hate Zac Efron because, the Disney Channel, Prince, why wouldn't you? But he was just such a sweetheart and such a nice guy and so aware that people probably hated him for that persona and was just humble and accepting about it. And Seth Rogen's I couldn't help but fall in love with the guy.
He's a normal dude.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, so
that's not given his upbringing and all of his.
He is
no.
so. Pardon my take. Very popular podcast from Barstool. He's a reoccurring guest on that show. He has no need to do a Barstool podcast, And he gets on and he goes like he gets in a fucking RV with them and travels up and down the West Coast and like is getting high in the back and shit. Like he's just a dude, man.
I mean, why I would do that? Barstool, call me. Like,
Right?
what do you mean? Like,
Right? He's
any
just a
guy would do
dude.
that.
As much
Yeah.
as I hate Tom Hanks for just being a dude, like Zac Efron's that. He's just a dude. And if you look
I don't
at
know, no, because there's a difference between Tom Hanks's everyman and Zac Efron's the prettiest guy on the face of the
Can
world.
we talk about for a second
average
though that
dude,
Tom
like-
Hanks used to be the pretty boy?
I don't know. If
He was
that's ever-
taking his shirt off and Turner and Hooch.
Oh my god! I don't think Zach. You can't compare Zac
He's
Efron and Tom
he's
Hanks.
like he does romantic comedies for like 10 years.
Tom Hanks is America's sweetheart.
And then Zac Efron will be too.
I don't know.
Trust me.
Tom Hanks would never do. I don't think he's ever done R-rated comedy. He's just like the nicest guy in America.
Tom Hanks Hang on. Let me check that out cuz I don't think I agree. I do believe he has done R-rated comedies.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
I can't possibly think of anything.
Tom Hanks.
maybe-
All
I don't
right,
know.
kids. We're going to bring up the screen share so everyone can see Tom Hanks's IMDb, which they should really sponsor us at this point. Okay. None of these are well, some of them are R-rated, but
Yeah,
they're not
jump
comedies.
to where it says jump to. Just click actor. There.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
So, let's start down here at the
we
bottom.
don't need to go through every single one on here, but like.
Money Pit, done. I
Mm.
win. I
The
bet
hell
this
is
is
Money Pit?
R-rated.
PG. It's PG, bro.
Really?
It's PG. Do
The
you know how
90s
ratings-
were
You
crazy.
know how the ratings- I was thinking Big might be rated R just because there's like sex stuff. But
There's
it's
sex stuff. That's
PG-13
why I
for
jumped
sure.
to Money Pit because
PG.
PG.
Yeah, oh, there-
That's
I-
what I'm
what
saying.
am I
The
doing?
90s were crazy.
They got away with everything in the 90s. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean,
what's a league of their own?
No, that's PG for sure. Yeah, like so he's always been in like those sweethearty, gentle like
Philadelphia?
Philadelphia certainly had like sensitive topics in terms of AIDS and homosexuality and stuff like that. But yeah, he would never. And Private Ryan was rated R, but not a comedy by any stretch.
I wonder if Forrest Gump was rated R.
No, PG-13.
We see boobs in that movie. What the fuck?
I'm just saying that you can't put Tom Hanks and Zac Efron in the same category at all. They're just Zac Efron is.
I'm just saying that
He is not as relatable.
at the time, though, a R-rated comedy was not the high-budget grossing thing that it is now.
That's fair.
Especially, like, who was Seth Rogen in the 90s? Chris Rock?
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Like, they're not making the money that a Seth Rogen does. So.
Oh, they absolutely were. Adam Sandler would far gross Seth Rogen for his career, and especially given the time because they paid out a lot more back then. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay, all right.
But so Zac Efron, I will say he's certainly made the jump to A-list.
Yes.
And now we're just piddling about whether we like him or not. The more I see of his work, I respect it because he shows a little bit more in each one. I don't know that the breadth of his range is going to be really all that wide in the grand scheme of things at the end. I mean, I think he still probably leans towards pretty boy than he does talented actor, but he does what he needs to do his roles.
He might break off Jackman type career then with like a couple of real deep shit that you're like, whoa, nice
Could be.
job, Hugh.
Yeah, we'll see. If
The
he played, you know what
Prestige.
would be cool for what I would respect him or what I would like to see? If he played like some kind of drifter or homeless guy or like just scraggly, dirty, like loner of some kind. Like he
Well-
plays the handsome guy in every single one of his movies, right? I want to
So-
see him get away from that.
I think it'll be interesting
If
and
possible.
extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile because Ted Bundy he's not going to look homeless or anything, but he's going to be fucking evil.
Yeah, but
He's
Ted
going to be dirty on the inside.
Ted Bundy was well known for being a very handsome and
Right,
charming
right.
individual. And
So I'm kind of
that's-
but what you asked for to see physically, he's going to do emotionally. And I've
might-
heard he kills it.
He might play a psychopath, but I really want him to I want him to go in the complete opposite direction of everything that he is.
Okay.
You know, like would he change his physique for a role?
Oh,
You
get
know?
fat.
I mean, not even fat, just
Fatty
like
cats out.
not be the super cut guy in every movie or every TV show or whatever. Like, would he just play? I don't know. I feel like Zac Efron could be plumbed further, but he's certainly, for the sake of what the show is tonight, he has certainly successfully made the leap.
Now let's talk about the actor who made doing the reverse.
I don't know
cool.
why you chose just this one actor, but you're certainly right. But the idea with this last category is in today's world now, instead of the stigma used to be people tried to jump from TV to film because TV was that's not the right word, but TV was considered
lesser
than film, right?
Sure.
Film was more grandiose, and the big screen was obviously where the A-list stars were, and TV was like the ugly cousin of the side of it. Nowadays, things are sort of going the other way, and a lot of movie stars are going back to TV. So who did you highlight for us to show?
The one and only Reese Witherspoon.
Your girl.
My girl.
America's sweetheart, who's not Tom Hanks.
Right.
I suppose.
So she starts as the blonde heartthrob, Cool Intentions election, Legally Blonde. Then she gets a little deeper role, but she's still kind of the sweetheart in Sweet Home Alabama. She gets her Oscar nod and win?
For Walk the Line?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix won.
You don't think she won? Okay, but she definitely gets the win in Wild.
I think she did.
Which she
For Walk
directed.
the Line. No, she didn't direct Wild.
I thought she did.
No, Jean-Marc Vallée directed Wild. But
Well,
she was nominated for Wild, and she's very fantastic in that
She's
movie.
incredible in Wild.
Yeah.
Then she
that
says,
was, I think Wild was sort of the start of her turnaround.
Right. And in 2014, let's pull up 2014 TV.
This was when she was sort of like, I'm tired of playing the rom-com or sweethearty roles. I want something with more meat to it.
Yep.
Some of the roles that all the males are getting. Like, she just really started being more choosy about her roles and taking hold of her career for more heavy, deeper material at that time.
So I'm trying to see TV show. Okay, so Mad Men's wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking Bad's wrapping up. All of the TV dramas are wrapping up, and she does Wild. Then she starts, because you can't just making a TV show evolves just as much as making a movie. So you can't just jump, right? Then she starts greenlighting her own stuff. Big Little Lies, Little Fires Everywhere, and The Morning Show.
Yeah, she transitioned to producing because she wasn't finding the roles that she wanted to do or that she thought had a lot of value to it,
right.
Where she was in her life as a female and at the age that she was and what she was looking for. So she started producing, she started optioning her own material, buying her own projects, and just making the stuff that she wanted to do. And it's transitioned. I mean, it's all been TV for the most part. The bigger things that she's had success in have all been TV as shown on screen. But she's had a resounding amount of success with the shows that she's done.
And these are great fucking shows. And especially with Little Fires Everywhere, she's farming material that we used to farm for amazing movies. Like Little Fires Everywhere was a book series. Okay? And super fucking is apparently this super coming of age book series that a lot of women have read, and she's like, boom, no, we're gonna make it a TV show. I think Big Little Lies might be a book too.
I believe so.
So
books.
Not only is she like, hey, you know what? Actually, TV is where it's at if you want to do a long form character study on something, but also going back to what some of the most iconic movies ever made. Let's look at a book. Let's make a movie off a book. And she's going TV show on that.
Right.
And I'm really excited about her career.
Yes.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, were you done with your thought?
I just think that she's super talented. And to see somebody very similar to McConaughey break out of that romantic comedy, Legally Blonde, Sweet Home Alabama type person with one role in Walk the Line. She's incredible. Then she starts to get some buzz as being a real actress who can carry her chops. And then she's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to go do TV.
Yeah. So, awesome. It's in 2010, in that decade, as the rise of superhero films and franchises and established IP took over the box office and took over what studios and producers were willing to do, not producers, studios only, were more willing to take, leaps on. And dramatic material, low budget, mid budget dramas, things that used to, you could just put any movie star in and it could be a hit based on, that role and that person. That material fell by the wayside, and drama has since really shifted towards television because there's less risk there. You can explore them in long form. Like you said, you can explore a character over 8 or 10 episodes and not have to rush it in 2 hours. But it's really about, studios just stopped making that material because they could make more money with
Avengers.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when you weigh the risk versus reward, it's just better, easier for them to take a chance on a big budget thing like that than it is for a $50 million drama about, family drama or whatever. It's interesting you brought up McConaughey, because I think that the first season of True Detective is really where this shift started, because McConaughey was at the height of his McConaissance after Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club and all that, and then out of nowhere he goes back to do TV, and people were like, "Whoa, Matthew McConaughey is doing a TV show?" Like
2014.
People were surprised.
There you go.
I think the first episode of True Detective, people really saw like, holy shit, this is cinematic and incredible characters, and this is an amazing thing here. It sort of made people realize that TV had all this potential, and it didn't just have to be secondary to film like it had been thought of for so long. So that was kind of, I think, the start of this whole shift for film actors looking for decent, meaty material that they can really explore. And now, I mean, we have countless shows. Sharp Objects that we have, that Manic, Kerry Joji Fukunaga show on Netflix. I mean, there's just an incredible amount of these new limited series.
Wish I had
now.
I'm looking for like a timeline, because as much as yes, that was a big thing. True Detective was huge. I'm putting my fucking foot in the ground. It's Breaking Bad. It's Mad Men. It's what was that, FX? No, AMC. It was what AMC was doing. Walking Dead.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but what I mean is, True Detective was the first instance of a full-on movie star jumping to TV.
Sure.
And now it's like if Julia Roberts doesn't do a movie for 10 years and then she goes and does Homecoming, right? Which is a very highly well-reviewed thing. So I'm not saying the quality of the material started with True Detective, but that's the first real, like, wow, this A-list movie star just is going to do TV?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that I love TV. You and I get in this argument a lot because you're always like, oh, just watch a bunch of TV, huh? And I'm like, yeah, because I think it's better. I think if I was an actor, if I was a truly skilled actor, I would see what guys like John Hamm did with Don Draper, what Peter Dinklage did with Tyrion, what why can't I ever remember Bryan Cranston's name? What Bryan Cranston did with Walter White. These guys are not necessarily known to be the greatest actors ever, and because they were given time with these characters and they were given like a slower arc, we're seeing these amazing, memorable characters be built. And if I was a real actor, I don't want to get my chops in on that. I don't want to dig into that. I'd want to find out what it's like to try to mold a character for years, not just hours.
Yeah, but that's so hard. I mean, those are the one in a million guys, right? And it's so hard when you start a TV show because you don't know where it's going to go for a lot of it. You read a pilot and you think, wow, this is really fucking well written. This is an amazing opportunity, right? But at the most, maybe you have a Bible for the first season and maybe the second, but you don't know how the writing's going to keep up. You don't know where the show's going to go. Like, you don't know what your character's going to be. That takes time to develop. You never know any of that up front.
I think that has changed, though, in the past 10, 12 years with the idea of a showrunner. Right?
If you get one that's respected and that you trust, like Shonda Rhimes or Ryan Murphy or whoever, it's certainly, yeah.
Michael Schur.
Sure.
The guys who did Game of Thrones are slipping my mind right now.
Benioff and Weiss.
Thank you. But I think it's just a really interesting, like McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. I forget who else we had brought up in the pre-show prep, but I'd like to see more of it. I'd really like to see more of it.
And you will see more of it.
Yeah.
This is the way of the future right now. As studios make more and more bigger projects and let all those middle and lower budget ones fall by the wayside, it's just becoming 10 million or less movies or 100 million or more, and everything in between is going to TV. That's just how, because not only because the studios don't want to make it, but there are so many people that are willing to snap up that material. There's a million different streamers nowadays, and not just Netflix and Amazon anymore, and any one of them is desperate for material because they need to build their libraries and they need to add content, so they're willing to pay big quotes for people to come to their, to make their projects at the streamers. So this is the way of the future, and I think dramatic. It's gonna come back around. I think by the end of this decade, I think people are gonna have grown tired of superhero films, and dramatic movies and indies will have made a comeback. But for the next 5 years, the next foreseeable future, it's gonna be more of these limited series that people are willing to do and explore on television.
But in that same exact breath, there will always be TV actors making the jump to film. That wraps up this week's thoughts.
You're not
going to
address Enola Holmes at all?
I mean, what do you want to talk about? Helen Bonham Carter, Millie Bobby Brown. It's going to be fucking sweet.
Okay.
I'm excited to see it.
We're plugging Enola Holmes. We have no stake in this movie, but we're plugging it.
I have stake in Millie Bobby Brown not being a fuck up.
Okay.
I have a lot of stake.
She's trying to be a movie star and is so far unsuccessful.
I have a lot of stake in the Stranger Kids not being fuck ups.
Okay. Well, she so far she's not made the jump yet.
I love all of them. They're like my children. Finn Wolfhard, Oof. All right, hang on a second. Okay, so let me get their names because I can't ever remember I know their character names, I don't know their real names.
Finn Wolfhard's been in a lot of movies. We did a movie with him at Amblin called The Turning, which was just awful, and he was not that great in it, but it was terrible material.
Okay, so Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Gatan Matazzaro, and Caleb McLaughlin. Okay?
Sure.
All the other ones I really don't care about. Charlie Heaton, Natalie Dyer, who's Max? Sadie Sink. I don't care. The original 4. Squad.
Sure.
Okay. Here's my predictions for their lives.
Okay.
I've gone over this quite a bit.
Finn Wolfhard is guaranteed gonna have a drug overdose.
No. That's fucking Gatton Matazzaro. Dustin.
Finn Wolfhard is gonna be Corey Feldman.
No, that's Gatton because
Okay.
Gatton's already doing like the Verizon commercials.
Oh god.
Right? Like he's already like that. Like
He's on Stranger Things and he needs to do a Verizon commercial.
Right. It's gonna be rough. Okay.
Strike while the iron's hot.
So his career's like headed for. Hey, remember that guy from Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that Caleb McLaughlin will have a steady rising career. He'll be a respectable, awesome actor at some point. Okay. I don't think he'll ever be like the stud, but I think he'll be like really, really good. Okay. Millie Bobby Brown is gonna do this, woo, and then come back. Like, she's going to be like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, she's dating, like, a 40-year-old man, like Angelina Jolie bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But then she's going to snap out of it. She'll do some really respectable shit in, like, her late 20s, early 30s. It's going to be fucking awesome. Finn Wolfhard is going to stop acting altogether. He's going to become the director of a generation.
I think he's definitely going to stop acting, but he's going to leave the business. He's going to do whatever Macaulay Culkin did. He's the new Macaulay Culkin.
Hey, Macaulay Culkin's a professional fucking wrestler, I mind you.
There you go. That's
so,
where
Finn Wolfhard's a pro wrestler?
Yeah.
All right. Well, fuck. All right. That's us for the movies this week. We'll be back next week with a topic we're not sure about yet because we basically make this up throughout the week.
Well, Wednesday at 8. We'll be here.
Wednesday at 8.
And it'll be fantastic.
Yes.
And you'll love it, and we'll love it. Thank you guys for tuning in.